Well, I almost made a critical mistake with one of my financial planning clients this morning. Woo! This is why you got to, when you're talking to a financial advisor, don't let them talk to you. You got to be doing the talking, man. These people are homebodies from the great state of Maine, wanting to retire, talking about their plan of action, whatnot. Good people, salt of the earth. Going over their stuff. And so how it works when I do financial planning is you pay me, I set you up in the software, you go on there and you do what you got to do, and then we take one meeting to review it, make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and whatnot. Have a chat about expenses. That's the most important thing in financial planning. All right. And then we wait a couple of days, and I crunch some numbers, and we have this follow-up to just kind of see where things shaking out. And in this scenario, the funny thing, well, not the funny thing, was I'm looking at their stuff, and I'm like, man, they got this life insurance on the wife. And it ain't cheap. It's like $5,000-6,000 a year, $1 million death benefit, and they're gonna be paying that for another 20 years or so. And they don't really have any debt. In fact, all their debt will be paid off at the end of this year. And my rule of thumb when it comes to life insurance is you have enough to pay off your debt, plus 2 years of income to replace what the surviving or the decedent was making. So I always say with my wife, we got, let's say, $300,000 of debt. All right, let's say it costs us, just for simplicity, $100,000 a year to live. I say, all right, so we need a $500,000 life insurance. Pay off all the debt, plus $200,000 of expenditures for the next 2 years. That's a good rule of thumb. You can adjust it up and adjust it down however you need. But in this case, I had $1 million life insurance with no debt after this year. I'm like, what? Well, that's, Now the cost, while expensive, wasn't making or breaking them. If they kept it at it, that's fine. They're going to be fine. If they didn't keep at it, well, there'd be even a finer. So I'm like, well, why pay for it? So we get to talking. And of course, I was doing the talking here. I said, you don't really need this. I went to my rule of thumb about life insurance and all this. And to be honest, I'm sure they had told me about the life insurance in our first meeting. I just forgot. So I said, I don't think I keep it. I said, or maybe reduce it. And they did, actually. I did suggest they call their life insurance provider. That's what I do. They did tell me that. I said, well, they actually, how the conversation came, and said, well, we did call our insurance company because you said to talk about reducing the death benefit to a certain amount, and how much would that save us in premiums? And they said they couldn't get a hold of their agent, and if they want to get a reduction in death benefit quote, they had to fill all this paperwork out. I'm like, this is nuts, dudes. So I said, look, do you even need it? And I went my litany of what I just told you. 2 years of expenses plus all debt paid. I said, that's a lot of money. Well, anyway, turns out the reason I have that is because there's no survivor benefit on the wife's pension. She's a teacher. She's going to retire with a decent pension. But because they did not take a survivor benefit, they instead bought a 30-year term policy. Aha. So the husband now, he's self-employed. He ran a business, didn't pay a huge amount of Social Security taxes because he didn't make a huge amount of money. But he did, he made money, as most self-employed people do. You get a lot of deductions that you can't take if you're W-2. Anyway, so at the end of the day, you're looking at your income. You're like, yeah, my Social Security taxes, my FICA taxes are not extraordinary because I don't have a lot of income because I'm self-employed. Makes sense, except when it comes to file for Social Security. There's not much of a benefit there. On top of that, because a teacher is subject to windfall elimination provision, that's going to reduce her Social Security, which isn't much to begin with anyway. So the question comes in, if she were to die before him, she'll lose her pension, or he'll lose her pension, and there isn't much in Social Security to begin with because she didn't pay into the system for very long. So she only has like $600 of Social Security benefit. So he would get $600, but I'm not even sure how it works with GPO, government pension offset. I don't know. I mean, I could research it, but either way, it won't be much. It won't be enough He won't get any Social Security benefit on her, let's just put it that way, because his is worth more than what hers is, regardless of windfall elimination provision, which is against her, or the government pension offset, which is against the survivor. So either way, if she dies, her pension's gone and her Social Security's gone. So his only income at that point is $1,500 a month. And that's what, $18,000 a year. And they don't have a huge amount of savings. We'll do another video on that actually. So, he's gonna be SOL. As such, that's the reason for the pension. Now, thankfully, they don't have any debt. And he's a pretty handy guy, so he can certainly go to work and something. But, he doesn't necessarily want to do that at 73 years old. So anyway, we get to chatting, where I shut my big fat mouth for a couple seconds. And I could see, because we're doing a Zoom video call, I could see in their eyes, like, well, I could just see, like, why, I'm not sure I want to get rid of my Social Security, Josh, because if we do, the husband is SOL, up the creek without a paddle from a financial perspective. And I was like, oh, right. Of course, if I just would have asked to begin with, tell me a reason what we're doing with that, I would have remembered that instead of going into a 15-minute diatribe, a verbal vomit about why my rule of thumb for life insurance. Anyway, the point is, even the best of us can make mistakes. But you don't have many mistakes if you shut your mouth and listen and ask questions, even if it sounds redundant. And what I mean by that, if you're talking financial planning, or if you're talking anything that's irrevocable in nature, i.e., if you drop your life insurance, you can't just go back and get it. You have to be underwritten, and that's always a challenge. You never do anything just on a whim. Oh yeah, no, go ahead and get rid of that. Now, I didn't say that, but I was kind of going down that road because I had forgot where we left the discussion. So that could have been bad. Come on, but he, the guy's an analytical guy. And he's like, can we talk about that? I said, yeah, absolutely. And just that, that's one of the reasons why working with people is so beneficial for me, because it keeps me on the ball of what's going on in people's minds. And knowing full well that while I'm a good financial planner, I'd say I'm one of the best financial planners. I know that sounds bad, but I know I am. Hell, even I can make mistakes by assuming something that isn't correct. And you know what they say about assume? It makes an ass out of you and me. So in that case, I made an ass out of me, not them. And they were fine. They said, oh, yeah, we got it. They're good to go. But always remember that if you're talking to somebody and they're not taking your concerns seriously, or they're not listening to you, or they're being too flippant, I suggest you time to move on. Because if you're following that approach just based on some CFP or master's degree or a pretty smile, you could be in a world of hurt if they haven't heard the whole story. I will see you.